Welcome to Wedding Waffle, a very chatty podcast with three industry professionals covering all things wedding, including your dilemmas, shocking stats, and just general wedding chit-chat. Get cosy and join us as we discuss anything and everything to do with weddings. Absolutely nothing is off limits. Brought to you by Bouquet and Bells, together with Flowers at the Dutch Barn and the Red Rose Cake Company. Hello! And welcome back to Wedding Waffle. This is episode 4. I am Claire from Bouquet and Bells, joined here with Caroline from Flowers at the Dutch Barn.
Hello.
And Julie from the Red Rose Cake Company.
Hello everyone.
So, let's get straight into it. First topic is it ever okay to propose at someone else's wedding? And have you ever had your thunder stolen? Now, I already know there's conflicts here going on between Caroline and Julie. Julie, should we start with you? What do you think? Ever okay to propose at someone else's wedding?
I think it's okay if there's an agreement. So if the bride and groom have been spoken to by the couple or, you know, the person who's going to propose, and it's done at a, you know, less conspicuous moment and there's an agreement between everybody, I think it could be quite sweet. But I know you feel quite...
No, it's not okay. Not okay.
Not at all.
Shaking my head. Not okay. Not okay. It's your wedding day. It's someone else's wedding day. There are 365 days in the year. Do not choose someone else's wedding day.
Yeah.
Like, they spend a fortune. They do all this planning. I don't care how much you like that person. Don't steal their thunder. It's their wedding day. You'll have your wedding day. No, go away! I was going to swear then. No, it's not okay. Not okay in my mind.
Yeah.
No, I would sack them.
I have to agree with you.
Agree?
I would never be the type of person that would allow someone, even if someone approached me in advance and it was a good friend, I don't think I could ever allow them to propose at my wedding.
No.
Ever.
It's not. I think it's also, and I know it's your wedding day, isn't it? Why would someone want to be like, now look at me?
Yeah.
Like, no, because
Yes.
then it all detracts from you. And this is selfish, but I don't care. It all detracts from that person, the bride and groom, or the groom and groom, or the bride and bride, the couple getting married. It detracts from them.
Yeah.
And choose another day. No, not okay.
Yeah.
It really annoys me.
Yeah. I'm with you. I am with you.
Okay.
Like that one, Julie.
I'm the minority on this occasion. I'm perhaps just a bit more laid back. I get it. I understand why you feel that way, and I do understand it. But I think if somebody that I really cared about approached me about
Still
it,
not okay.
I would probably think about it. I can't say I would, hand on my heart, I would say no outright. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because you have seen, I think we mentioned it on previous episode, maybe just in conversation actually, we mentioned that there are these moments at weddings when you see the bride's about to do the bouquet toss and she'll pass the bouquet to a bridesmaid or whoever, a friend, and then her boyfriend or whoever will come and take that opportunity then to propose to her, and it's a planned thing.
Well,
I don't know. Is it quite like across the pond an American thing? I don't know.
Maybe it is.
Because on my brother's wedding day, my dad had a few G&Ts and Carl had a fair bit of drink as well. And Carl asked my dad's permission for my hand in marriage on my brother's wedding day. But it was only because my dad had a drink and Carl had a drink. And Carl was like, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. But it didn't steal anything away. He kind of he was like, Caroline, go dance with Lindsay, my stepsister. Go dance with her. I was like, woohoo! And then he went to my dad and my stepmom and asked. But it wasn't like a big deal. But I was like, why are they all teary-eyed and smiling? Yeah, like, what's going on? But I was too happy dancing away. But I only found that out later. But if he proposed to me, I'd be like, you can jump off that balcony, that's not okay. Like, it was a penthouse, no, maybe not. It was quite high. But it was that thing of like, no, that's my brother's. I would have been really cross. Like that, I would have said, no, go away.
Yeah.
Like, that's my brother's wedding day, for example.
Yeah,
Asking
not
hand permission, fine, because it was just a nice thing to do.
But it's a private thing.
It's a private thing, not a public. I'd have been fuming. I would have. Yeah. If he'd done that.
Okay, so that's the answer to that.
That's
one.
that.
Yeah.
I'm outvoted.
If anyone,
on this occasion.
if anyone else wants to talk about it any further, don't come to me.
So, we actually did a poll on this, and I don't think there's any surprise here. Is it ever okay to propose at someone else's wedding? 89% said absolutely not.
Really?
11% said I wouldn't mind.
No, so I'm definitely the minority.
You're the minority.
But, you know, it doesn't hurt, does it?
No.
Maybe they were just planned for TV, for social media or something like that.
Maybe.
Just don't do it at my wedding, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not at Caroline. I think everybody's probably got the hang of that. Not at Caroline's wedding.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so moving on then.
Swiftly.
Yeah. 71% of people say they had their teeth whitened for their wedding day, and 74% of people lost weight for their wedding. Plus, brides in the northwest of England are 5 times more likely to be worried about their tan running rather than being left at the altar.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
do you think people can go too far with changing their appearance for their wedding day, Caroline?
Some people can, but I don't really know anyone that's gone to such extremes that they've, I don't know, had plastic surgery and things for their wedding. I think it is just that thing, like, a lot of people go, yep, I want to lose weight. You've got everyone's eyes on you, haven't you? So,
Yes.
yeah, I can understand it. Personally, I don't tan. I've got quite olivey skin, so I don't have to worry about that. But
Yeah.
I can understand why that would annoy people with a white dress, because I get it a lot with flowers.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, I don't want lilies because I don't want pollen, and I would never really use lilies anyway. But it's kind of, I understand the stain on a dress.
Yeah.
So I do understand that.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't have soup, do they? Because they don't want to spill it down
Yeah.
their outfit.
Red wine,
Red
absolutely
wine.
not.
But it is those things, isn't it? So, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think you can go... I think you can go too far, but I don't think it's a bad thing
Yeah.
to want to feel most comfortable on your wedding day.
Julie, what about you?
I don't think I'd go as far as plastic surgery or having my teeth whitened. I kind of, as always, I'm a firm believer in that person fell in love with you the way you are. Why would you want to change that? However, I would understand, I would want to be the best I can be. So perhaps if I felt I could lose a bit of weight, or I could do something to sort of not have bingo wings and a sleeveless dress, you know, things like that, I might think about doing something like that. But knowing my staying power, it's unlikely I'd achieve that goal. And I think, again, we talked about pressure and things being pressured, aren't they? And I think you put too much pressure on yourself. Be who you are.
Yes.
That's who that person fell in love with.
Yes.
Do you want something different standing opposite you at the altar?
Yeah. Yeah, so I was going to say, why would you want to change yourself so much that your partner's not really going to recognise you walking down the aisle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of brides say about makeup, don't they?
Yeah.
They want natural makeup because they want to look like them,
Just like
not...
a better version of yourself, I guess.
Yes, I think enhance who and what you are by all means, but don't change it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if, because a lot of brides will want to, for example, wear their hair up, and if they always wear their hair down, that even something small like that can transform how you look and who you are, I think, as well.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why, if you wear your hair down every day and love it, why would you put it up in something you'd never do again on your wedding day? I don't know. And maybe you might look back and think that wasn't very timeless as well. It's not a look that's really going to last. Or
Yeah, I think it's difficult, and I think it is be confident in who and what you are, and don't let other people dictate that for you.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that's really important. I think I always say it, stay true to you.
Yes.
That way you feel comfortable and you feel confident, and that's the way forward for me.
Yeah. You're not influenced by anyone else or what anyone else does. Yeah.
Agree.
Fab.
Did you do a poll?
No, I didn't do a poll on that. No. Need to.
I would. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a poll thing. Would you? How far would you go?
Would you go?
He's going to turn up and his Barbie's standing at the altar.
Yeah. I have had quite a few teeth whitening companies approach me recently about wanting to exhibit at wedding shows, because the demand is there now.
Really?
It's there, and a lot, I mean, what's it say here? 71% of people have their teeth whitened for the wedding.
See, I'd go to the dentist and the hygienist, like, as you do, but I've not got really yellowy teeth, I don't think.
No. Isn't it amazing though, what you just normally live with becomes something you're self-conscious of on your wedding.
Yes. I know a lot of people, you said about, is it bingo or bimbo? Bimbo wig.
Bingo!
Bimbo wings.
Fluffy wings. But a lot of people have said, oh, I've gone for a dress like a Bardot style to cover that. A lot of people do, you know, they do prefer
conscious of
very
their
conscious
shoulders and arms. And, you know, sometimes you feel as though your top half is bigger than your bottom half, and that's accentuated by having that cut. And I think a Bardot style really does diminish that. But a lot of women are very conscious of their upper arms.
Yes.
And for no real reason.
No, there is no real reason, is there? And I think it's just when you're going to choose your outfit or your dress or what have you, then be mindful of that and go, rather than trying to get rid of it and then feel uncomfortable if you can't get rid of it.
Yes.
It's very hard to get rid of them, apparently.
Yeah.
But work with it, like, instead, rather than fight it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, okay, so you've just got married. What do you do with your wedding dress? So most people's gowns spend the rest of its life in the back of the wardrobe collecting dust. Some people save it for a vow renewal, and others like to pass it down to the next generation. So what would you do with yours, / what have you done with yours? Julie, where's your wedding dress?
My wedding dress is in a suitcase. I took it out last year to do my Amanda Holden working in the garden wearing my wedding dress. So yes, I did some chainsawing, some grouting. I drove the truck with it, the digger. I did that as well. So yes, it was great fun. It was a little tight, so it won't make a vow renewal, that's for certain.
But you're quite happy to keep it, are you?
I love it. I love the memories it brings back to me. A friend of mine had her wedding dress made into a christening gown for her children.
Oh, that's nice.
And each one wore that, which I thought was a lovely idea. I think it depends what your dress is like. I think it would be lovely to do like a pre-loved or donate it, or something should happen to it. Mine is a style that could be worn as an evening gown. So if there was somebody who was going to a prom and hasn't yet chosen their dress, I have one. And it's probably, you know, I think that is an option. So I think if you can do something, it'd be terribly sad, isn't it, that it never see the light of day again.
Know. What do you think, Carolyn?
Well, I think I would definitely want to do the hoovering in it. I think I don't know. So basically, Carl keeps saying to me, I think our first dance should be Lady in Red, because we always dance around the kitchen to it. And I'm like, well, I'm not wearing a red dress. And he keeps saying, well, dye your wedding dress red.
Oh,
not
my.
like afterwards.
Okay.
And I was like, I would do that. And I would, you know, take it back to the people that made it and say, you know, can we change it to, like you've said, to reuse it?
Yeah.
But then I also wouldn't want to do it at the same time. But I wouldn't want it, like you say, sat in a wardrobe, just gathering dust, because that's really sad. But when I was growing up, I used to wear my mum's wedding dress and play dress up, and I cut a veil and ruin that. So that's my problem, is I'd be scared that my children would ruin it. But all the bridesmaids, when I've been a bridesmaid, all those dresses I've kept. So if we ever have children, we had a girl or a boy, if they wanted to try it on, like, they've got something to play in. I think it's a shame for it to sort of sit in the back.
When it's such a happy day and it's such a celebration, and so much effort has gone into choosing it, it's so sad for it never to see the light of day again.
Because I kind of disagree with both. Because
got a lot of disagreeing going on today.
Controversial.
Absolutely. Go on.
I love the fact that my dress is shoved in a bag in the back of the wardrobe. It's ripped, it's covered in mud, it's ruined, totally destroyed, but I love that because it's stuff from the day. And my mum was on to me for ages. I know that people say, oh, you need to have it repaired, and I think my sister might have even paid a lot of money to have hers dry cleaned and sewn and everything else, but I would be devastated to do that. I really don't want to do that, because for me it's the memories of that day, even if it is mud from North Wales, you know, and God knows what else. But for me, I wouldn't ever want to get rid of it at all. I mean, I bought it was second hand when I bought it, so someone had donated it to a pre-love shop. which is where I found it. But I can't part with it, and I can't even part with the dirt.
Isn't it? Yeah.
So,
ask me this question when I got married and see if I changed my mind. I've never thought of it in that way.
I remember as soon as I stepped into the dress, my heel went straight through the netting.
Oh, really?
So it was ripped before I'd even done anything.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so
yeah, that's interesting. Have you done a poll on that?
no.
Oh my goodness, that's an important question then.
It's an interesting one.
To ask people what they would do with theirs, or what they
have done.
What they have done, because
maybe ideas. Bring ideas forward and see.
Yeah,
Fab.
Absolutely. So, perhaps this is another controversial topic, perhaps not. And we have done a poll for this one, which I'll read at the end. So, do you think posting on social media during a wedding should be allowed? Caroline?
No. Just no. Carl and I have decided to have an unplugged wedding, so no phones, nothing.
Okay.
And that was Carl's decision, and he works in tech, so I was quite surprised. But there is nothing worse, and I bet a lot of photographers will agree with me on this, than someone leaning into an aisle with a mobile phone, taking a photo of the couple getting married, and it's in the photograph from the professional photographer. You have chosen that photographer for a reason, so get your phones, get rid of them. No, just no. And also, I'm so opinionated, but also you're there to enjoy the day, not to be posting on social media. It should be the couple's decision when they post on social media.
Yeah.
So, going back to my brother again, they basically said, please don't have phones, please don't post on social media. If you want a picture of yourself, fine, that's your choice. But of us, and there wasn't a picture up for about 6 months until they chose a photo that they were happy with to post on social media.
How far can you go, though, do you think, to control your guests?
Oh, I would say, give me your phones. I would be there. Get rid of that phone.
You'd have to have a phone basket.
I would do that because it really, really annoys me. I'm glued to my phone a lot of the time, but there's a time and a place, and I just don't agree with it, especially during a ceremony. I think that's not fair. I understand in the reception and what have you, and people want to take photos of themselves, but I don't agree with that. You're paying a lot of money for a photographer. I actually had a guest say to me, can you get your photographer to take photos of me and my family on your wedding day while we'll be all dressed up, because we don't want to pay for a photo shoot? And I was like, no. Go and pay for a photo shoot, but there will obviously be photos, but I'm not having everyone lining up.
No.
But I don't agree with it. Take your photos before the wedding, not during a ceremony. No.
What about you, Julie?
I feel the same, actually. I think
Thank you, Julie.
It's not that controversial. I think it's really disrespectful. I think that is somebody else's day. It's a bit like people now do it very often, where they say, please don't post photos of the baby until we decide to do it. And I think that's absolutely right. This is your day. You've paid a fortune for it, and for somebody to put a snapshot on social media is really disrespectful. So I'm with you on this. I think it's a no-no. I think people can take some photos if they want, but nobody should be disclosing that. That's for their own use and just between themselves, not posting it anywhere. And I think it's becoming more common. You see now people say, please do not post anything. We would ask not. And I think people are more respectful of that. And so they should be. It's a not on. Do you agree with us?
I agree.
Are we a complete?
I agree with that. But the first wedding photo I saw was because someone posted it on social media.
So that's really sad.
It was a confetti shot outside the church, and I was posted on both. I was tagged on Instagram and Facebook.
Oh, that's such a shame.
It was a gorgeous picture of confetti flying everywhere and surrounded by people, but that was the first image that I saw. But I wasn't, if it was a bad photograph, I would have been a little bit more angry. But I guess it's the world seeing your wedding when they're not there, and it's you not having the control of what's posted and when. And I think it's not a bad thing to ask for some respect and to ask for that on your wedding day. Yeah, so
I think there's a lot of it. It'd be really interesting to know a photographer's opinion on this.
Yeah.
I mean, our wedding was very small, and it was deliberately so. But we were sitting down eating, and during the meal, suddenly phones were going off everywhere. And Paul checked his, and his family, there were members of his family saying, "Have you just got married to Julie?" And his son had popped a picture up and said, "Can't believe Dad and Julie have done this." And it was mostly him, and we were all in the background, but it was obvious there was a wedding. And so we quickly had to put something together and put it out. I understand why he did it, and I don't really object to it, but it would have been nice to have some control over it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Well, we did a poll on this as well.
Oh,
We said, do you think posting on social media during a wedding should be allowed? And 55% said, I don't see why not.
What?
Yeah.
You're not coming to my wedding.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. I can't believe that. I'm really surprised.
It could be context. I don't know. Because if you're taking a picture of someone's centrepiece or someone's cake, is that okay?
Yes. It's just I wouldn't want pictures of me out there
Bride
until
and
I've
groom.
agreed.
Or,
I think, yes, but why, what is the need? You're at someone's wedding to take a photo, say, of the beautiful flowers that I have created. You take a photo of it. What is the need to then instantly share it on social media? Why not just enjoy the day? Like, I don't understand that.
Because people use social media as an immediate form of communication,
Yes.
and they want to show off, and they want to let the world see what they're doing and what they've got. I mean, God, how many times do you see somebody's Sunday dinner perched on social media?
Fair, if it's a good Sunday dinner.
I just
think
this is a no.
Yeah, I just think I don't know. I'm quite funny about social media sometimes, and I think it's not your wedding, so let the couple make that decision for themselves.
Yeah.
Fair enough if you want a picture of yourself, but don't go sharing it all before they've had a chance to even take a breath.
Yes.
And
I
my
think
thoughts.
it's down to the individual couple, and if they say no phones, no photographs, then you've got to respect that.
Yeah. And if they do, go crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Scary.
Right, brace yourselves because we're talking about budget.
Oh.
I know that Caroline and Julie have a fair bit to say on this. So, what is your advice to couples when setting their budget, and what should they consider when booking your services? Julie?
Shall I go first? Because I'm probably a little more subtle about it than Karen. I think it's a really important thing. Budget is the be-all and end-all of how your wedding is going to be. I think what you should be doing is research beforehand.
Yeah.
You've got to be realistic. You've got to have some expectation about the cost of things. Certainly for things like cake, flowers, bespoke items that you are dictating how and what they look like, where they're going to be placed. That is the same as a custom item of clothing or a customised car or something else. You're always going to pay a bit of a premium for that because you're asking for something that is unique, and unique carries a bit more cost than something that you can get in every other shop.
Yeah.
So I think researching it is vital so that you go into your communications with your suppliers already having some idea of what something costs. My cakes aren't Tesco cakes, they're not Asda cakes, they're not a high street cake. It's something that I only make for you. And so I take the time and trouble to go through that with you and to make sure on the day that is what you get. And I think that applies not necessarily to everything in a wedding, but to certain things. So I feel quite strongly that people should have an awareness, and I specifically put a price guide on my website for that purpose.
Yep.
So it isn't a price that you're going to pay, but it does give you some idea of what the prices are going to be like.
Yep.
And I think it's, when I was looking for things, the first thing I do is try to ascertain, is there any guidance on that, so that I've got an idea. And I think people go into it and then they're shocked, and then they want to it's then an awkward situation because they want to change it or they want to reduce something, and that's hard to do. If you've got something in your mind, whatever comes out of that, if you've had to reduce it, is second best. So I think it's really important that...
And it's not, going back to just picking up a cake from a supermarket shelf, the quality of your product is so much better in that down to the ingredients
Absolutely.
is massively improved from what you get on the shelf, but also the insurances that you have to have as a business.
Yeah.
It all has to be taken into account.
Absolutely. When somebody says, I recently had somebody approach me and she wanted it was a birthday cake, it was quite a complex cake, it had a figure on it, it had other bits about it. And when I priced it up, I said to her, it's about £150 because I worked out there was about 9 or 10 hours work in that cake, which is quite a lot of money. And I fully understand that. I don't expect somebody to always be able to afford that. So, I'm probably not the right person for that item. But she contacted me back and said, oh, that's okay, I found somebody that can do it for £35. And I thought, that isn't even going to cover the cost of your ingredients. And they are, and I said to her, I would suggest you first of all find out if they're regulated and if they're insured. Do they have public liability? Because those costs almost certainly outweigh what she's paying. Yeah. And that's going to be somebody in their kitchen at home with no protection and no concern about your safety, will not have gone through your allergens or your intolerances, won't have taken any of that into consideration. Yeah. And that's the difference between somebody who's a professional and somebody who's doing it because it's a hobby and it's a big step to take. Yeah. And so... Yeah. I think it's
very brilliantly summed up, I think.
Yeah, that's why Julie went first.
So, I know we're going to Caroline.
But it's down to all of it. So, for me, flowers at the Dutch Barn, that is my job. I've got 2 degrees, 2.5 degrees actually. And then I've also trained, that as a teacher, and then I've also trained on top of that for 6 years to be a florist. So, it's not just... Like, people say to me, oh, well, they're really cheap in the supermarket flowers. Well, the quality is very different. So, regarding wedding flowers, you do not find wedding flowers, or you very rarely find them in a supermarket or even in a normal florist shop, because the quality is different, what you buy is different, where you buy them from is different. But that takes time. It takes time I spend about 3-4 hours per ordering in live auctions at about 10 o'clock at night, because that's when the auction's opened in Holland. And so there's that time involved. Then it's, for me, I have to go and collect the flowers, or they get delivered depending on where they're coming from. And then you have to condition them, so you have to make sure they're all ready, and then you have the time that takes. On top of that, you've got your emails, you've got your consultations and your meetings. Yeah. And then on that, you've still got to make the flowers and get the bits to make the flowers with. It's not a case of chucking flowers in a vase or throwing a cake together. It's the time that is the big thing. Yeah. But then, like Julie said, you've got your insurance, your public liability, your vehicle, the time it takes to deliver. It's everything encompasses your tax, your insurance, national insurance. We pay all that. We don't get maternity and sick pay and paternity pay. Absolutely. It's all of those things. So, like, we've discussed starting a family, and I'm going, when am I going to do it? Because I don't get maternity pay. I'm going to have to work through it. So it's all these aspects, and people go, that's over my budget. Well, what is your budget? I don't have a budget. Well, research, ask us, what is the average price for a wedding for this, this and this? Yeah. Because so much affects it. So for me, say bridal bouquet, the ribbon can change the cost by about £20 purely on ribbon, because some of the ribbon is bespoke and made locally and it's all silk, and some of it is standard, you get it on the shelf at the wholesalers. So it's those things as well, and your colours can change, the season, there's so much. So when someone messages me going, I've got this picture of a bouquet, how much is it? Can't tell you, sorry, we need to have a conversation. Because, and then everyone goes, oh, I didn't think about that, which is fine. You might never have planned a wedding before, but don't just expect it like that. Oh, that was a good clip. Don't expect it, because it's not, there's a process involved, and I think this is where you really do, like Judy said, you need to research it, and you need to go to wedding fairs, I think, and say, how much would that be right now? Yes. Well, we're in June and it's a white bouquet or whatever, right now, this second, that would cost this much. But in August, it will cost this much. And then you've got an idea. So you've got to really talk to a range of suppliers. And my dad, I always talk about my dad, but he always says, pay as your money, takes your choice. Just because it's £100 cheaper doesn't mean it's necessarily better. And just because it costs £1,000 for that cake rather than £500, is it better? Or have they charged a premium? So it's about being clever and talking to the suppliers. You're going to be talking to them for a long time, especially at the moment. So you need to get on with them, which is worth the weight in gold.
And I think that's why it is worth talking to your suppliers. I know face-to-face is difficult for the time being, but over a Zoom or a phone call, because there's so much to consider. There's huge amounts that people won't initially even have thought of, and that will come up in conversation. You and Julie, you can both advise people based on your experience, because you've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people.
Absolutely. And you know, sometimes you just don't fit, you don't gel together, you're not what they need, and that becomes quite clear early on. And I think there's nothing wrong in that. That's not a negative, that's still a positive. Because you've spoken to people and worked out. And by all means, some people don't really care about the cake. They don't care about what something looks like, as long as there's a cake to be cut. And again, that is absolutely fine. But am I necessarily the right person for that couple? Because I care passionately about my cakes, and I want them to have their own personality. I want them to represent that couple, and I want it to be, you know, you like your flowers. When you're talking about something, it isn't yet, it's in their mind, so it's an idea and a design that's in their head that they've got to translate into my head. And sometimes
that's a skill.
Nobody's going to see that until the day of the wedding. So I might not put that cake together until I'm at the venue, and that will be the first time I see it together. So I have to know my skill to be satisfied that I know what I'm doing, but I also have to convince that couple that I've read them right, and I know that I'm going to convert what their idea is, so that when they come in, it's sitting there waiting for them. And sometimes, but it's important that process is not cut short and you go through it. And people ask, how soon should you speak to suppliers? As soon as you've got your venue booked.
Yes, definitely.
Because then you can start a process going and a conversation.
I feel like once you've booked your venue, that's your foundations done. Everything can then happen. Once you've got that secured.
And for a lot of people, like we were talking about a makeup artist this morning, she can only be in one place at once. Like I can manage to get a couple of weddings done if it's a drop off and delivery, but you can't, if you want someone specifically, you've got to get them booked in, because when they're gone, they're only one person. And I think, so you will pay a premium for that. Absolutely. Because they're only one person. And it's also, it's down to, you can always work around budgets, but then you have to compromise. Whereas there's certain flowers I will not put in a bouquet because they do not work. They're not practical. They don't look right. So sometimes there's certain aspects you can't compromise on, but you can compromise in other areas. So think of what you're willing to spend, and then if you, like, I had one lovely couple and they said the other week, we've actually talked about more and thought more about our wedding, so we're upping our budget, would love to book. And that's fine, because we threw around ideas and it's not a sales tactic. They went, actually, can we add this? But they were willing to stretch their budget to incorporate that for their wedding.
It's the understanding of it, isn't it? And one thing that I created on purpose to help people set their budget was a wedding planner starter pack. And that's available on bouquetandbells.com. If you go on there, if you're unsure of setting your budget, if you're struggling, if you don't know where to start, we've created a worksheet which will help you to understand what your priorities are as a couple. So things like the suppliers that you absolutely want and the things you want to see at your wedding, things that aren't so important that you're not fussed about, and just working out a realistic budget that you're confident that you can go to your suppliers and say, this is what we're working with.
I think that's great. And like you say, you know, if somebody comes to me and says I've got X amount, then I can tell them what they can have for that amount. And then, you know, there's clear understanding between us, and you like to do that in the beginning. But research.
And updated research. I had a couple come to me and they said, we've looked on Google and it says the average amount spent on wedding flowers is this. And I just said, double the top amount. That is not the average anymore. It really isn't. Flower prices have rocketed, especially thanks to Brexit.
I was going to say that both
Nearly
of you
doubled.
as well. Your prices have been massively affected by Brexit because, Caroline, your flowers come from Holland.
Yeah.
And that's the only way they have to get over here.
Or British every so often, but even they're expensive.
So that's another compromise for you, isn't
Yes.
it? And something you've got to consider for your business.
I think there's a point I will only compromise so far on a bouquet because it's also my reputation in that. Just like it is with cake. You won't compromise on the taste or the icing you use because it's your reputation. You don't want people, that's naff, we won't use Julie. Because we have to find that money has to come from somewhere. So I think it's just about ask the question, don't be scared to ask. Like people aren't offended, they'll rather it.
No, exactly. I'd rather people ask the question and then you can answer it honestly.
Yeah.
And it isn't a sales tactic. I mean, I've had 5 inquiries this week and I've given them all options initially. But if they go away and don't book something, if they, I do a fairly modest booking fee, but because of the way that things are going at the moment, I know more and more people are coming forward and going ahead with their weddings. That date's going to be snapped up, and because lots of people move to next year, my diary's it's probably 2/3 full for next year already. So the sooner you ask the questions, the sooner that you get that ball rolling, the better for everybody.
And not just a message at 10 o'clock at night. I think it's important to arrange a phone call or a Zoom call with a supplier because you're not going to get the answers you want at that time over a text.
No. We also need days off, don't we?
Yeah.
And we deserve evenings. And it is that thing, just because, and a lot of small businesses do. I do it. I'll reply because it's there and then it's in your head, but you're not going to get the answers that you want. So you might get a blunt answer going, I will be in touch tomorrow, because it's not fair. But we're here to help, but we're only human.
I'm useless at that time of the night, so by 9 o'clock I can't remember my own name, let alone, so I've learnt not to answer messages in the evening, because I will do that and then by the morning I've slept and I've forgotten that I did it. So I leave everything until I've got a fresh mind to approach
Emails
it.
are the best way, in my opinion.
For initial communication, and
Yeah,
then
any
you can take it from there.
Never ring me. I've dropped the phone in buckets of water a lot. But I always say that to everyone. Email. When someone emails you, you're ready to sit down and you're in the zone to talk about these really important questions. That's the best community, because you're sat at a desk and we're ready for
You've got
it.
your business head on.
Yeah. And I feel like this is quite fitting, so I sort of just want to end by saying that on our website we've worked hard to build up a list of recommended suppliers that we've worked with and we know, and if you are looking for your supplier, it's well worth getting in touch with those via the website, because they will be more than happy to chat through everything with you and answer any questions that you have. So I just thought that was worth noting.
Definitely.
And it's a starting point.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, that was serious.
That was too serious. So on that note,
fundamental, isn't it?
All comes down to money.
Absolutely.
But don't be afraid to stretch your budget. Go wow. Do a wow. Yeah. Go wow.
So
That's my opinion.
on that note, that rounds off episode 4. I feel like that was quite a fiery one. So
controversies hit. Wedding waffle.
And I guess if anyone's listening, if you've got any opinions, any strong opinions on anything we've discussed, then ping us a message and let us know your thoughts.
Just
because
don't be mean.
Don't be mean. But it is genuinely really interesting to know. So thanks so much for listening, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.